Hey, Inspired Moneymaker. We're talking with a personal finance guy who trades and collects NFTs. Is it the future? Let's find out. Episode 231 features Mike Damazo, naval officer, content creator, NFT trader.
So I did take the profit. I'm never not against taking profit, but if I would have still held, obviously, that one Bored Ape Yacht Club at the price now, like I would have had two, as opposed to the one that I just have. So yeah, that's kind of like, okay, I have to make sure I balance out my traditional personal finance mind with my investor NFT JPEG, like joking around, having fun investor side.
I'm Andy Wong, host of the Inspired Money podcast and financial advisor at Runnymede Capital Management. Our guest is Mike Damazo, who joined the Navy at age 18. He was living paycheck to paycheck until a finance class offered by the military motivated him to become debt-free. He reined in his spending and paid off tens of thousands of dollars in credit card, auto, and personal loan debt. I want to share a quick word from our sponsor. If you're looking to do better with your money so that you can achieve financial independence, try the You Need a Budget app. Here's how it works. You'll take the money that you have to make a plan. Those rainy days, you'll see them coming. When life changes, your budget can too. Before you know it, you'll break the paycheck to paycheck cycle forever. You'll feel less stressed and more confident about your future. Did you know that on average, new budgeters save $600 by month 2? Your first 34 days are free. Get a free trial by going to inspiredmoney.fm/YNAB. That's YNAB for You Need a Budget. Surprisingly, I didn't invite Mike on to talk about his FIRE journey. I'm hoping that we can all learn more about NFTs, DeFi, and Web3 from a practitioner. Mike's been doing a lot of research and pivoted his YouTube channel to cover these topics. In this episode, you'll learn things to look for when researching an NFT purchase, resources including helpful websites for buying, selling, and researching NFTs. And tune into the end to hear Mike's approach to managing trading, profits, and taxes. Now let's get inspired with Mike Damazo. Mike, welcome to Inspired Money. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for making time and being able to chat.
Let's jump right in. What's your earliest childhood memory of money?
So my earliest childhood memory of money would be getting not Christmas presents, but presents, like birthday presents or Christmas presents, where it's like the person gives you money and then your mom or dad, my mom and dad would just take it and kind of counted it out for me, and them just showing me like, okay, this is how much you have, we're holding it onto you. And I don't really remember what they did with it, but I do remember like always kind of asking as a little kid, like, hey, can we count my money again? Just so, kind of like just double checking, like I trust them, but it's like, oh, that's how much I got from, this aunt or that uncle. So it was always counting like money with parents from what I got for like Christmas presents and birthdays.
That's funny. I like the asking for a recount. It's that accountability.
Yeah.
Have you guys spent that? Yeah. Have you spent the money? I need to make sure it's there.
I know you guys just bought me clothes for school, but we didn't say we were taking that out from my funds, right? Like, let's count that. Yeah. So that's one of my earliest memories.
That's good. So maybe that's a good segue into blockchain and like transparency, because you dove into NFTs and Web 3.0. You're a video creator for Cult of Money, and you're doing really great things at your NFT or MD NFT YouTube channel. As a military personal finance guy, how do you view NFTs? Is it an asset class? How does it fit?
So it is. So thank you for saying the video content creator for Cult of Money. Love what Robert's doing and just being able to create content there. For me and doing military personal finance, shifting over or pivoting to Web3 and covering NFTs and cryptocurrency, Um, it is a very speculative asset class. It's not one that I'm like, oh, put all your money into this. It's more, hey, let's understand the technology first. What gives certain blockchain or cryptocurrencies money? Where does that money come from? And then let's look at the different functions of it. For people, the first thing they probably would know, at least for me as well, with cryptocurrency, it was like, oh, I have Bitcoin, I'll go buy that and then I'll hold it. Oh, there's this thing called Ethereum, I'll go buy that and hold it. With Web3, or really for me in 2021, I did the jump to NFTs and learning a bit more about DeFi, which is decentralized finance. And it was one of those things of like, oh, I just held this Ethereum, this ETH. There's things that you could do with it. And I was familiar being able to do stuff with it, such as like buying and selling crypto kitties, which was one of the first exposure for me for non-fungible tokens. And as crazy as this sounds, it was just buying virtual kittens on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, I never got that. Like when I heard about CryptoKitties,
Oh,
it was
nice.
funny to me because I was like, that is like collecting Beanie Babies, but it's not even real.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand, but it is a thing. I mean, collectibles, sometimes you can't explain that demand, but
Mm-hmm.
it is like simple economics, supply and demand. If people want to collect something, then the value is going to increase. Before we talk about NFTs and like digital collectibles, just so people have an understanding of where you came from, because when I've listened to some of your past interviews, you're a pretty straightforward like investment guy. I hear you talking about Vanguard funds and owning index index funds for passive investing, low cost funds. I know that you own some rental properties too. Like you're a guy who wants to be diversified and building some sort of, well, building wealth in like an old fashioned way, right?
Yes, that's for me. That's how I started. Of like reading Rich Dad Poor Dad to The Intelligent Investor, and just like you've mentioned, diversifying my um, portfolio. And it for me, it made sense to diversify it even more because I was familiar already with Ethereum and cryptocurrency, investing in it since 2017. That for me, I was just like, well, I know I set out a small portion of it, and there's going to be plenty of people that believe like cryptocurrency in itself will go down. Like there's a 99% chance that it'll go down, everything. And I'm in my thought process to that is like, well, there's that 1% chance, so I'll risk that 1% chance. Like that to me is like whatever percent you think that is going to go down, there's that opening that you could still use that money as a way to try out speculative investments. And it is one of those, like I've mentioned, it's speculative, so there are those market dips of like 20%. And it's been something that since I've been in it since 2017, it's been something like I'm familiar with, and it doesn't bother me because I know it's a small portion of my portfolio.
What do you tell people generally, right? I mean, everybody's going to be a little bit different, but for a highly speculative asset and one that's very volatile, how much should one own? Like looking at an overall portfolio.
For me personally, not financial advice or anything, I'm just a guy that creates video online. And it is just to try out 1%, you know, allocate that 1% to buy Bitcoin or buy Ethereum. And then once you get comfortable with knowing, like, oh, okay, like I finally interacted with cryptocurrency and blockchain, the next step would be trying out decentralized finance, aka DeFi, where it's money Legos, and I could probably go on to that and just riff off for a long time. And then there's NFTs. So there's a whole economy within different blockchains that you could do. So that the biggest one is Ethereum. So that's kind of like my main focus. Whereas the other ones, it's still either brand new or doesn't have the same capabilities as Ethereum.
Okay, so what is it about Ethereum that you find attractive?
So I like that it was one of the main for the like one of the first ones after Bitcoin that really stood out and created its own ecosystem. And for a more like technical like look, it's obviously not my book, but I'll plug it. It's Laura Shin's The Cryptopians is such a great book to kind of understand Ethereum more and like how it started. So that's what I'm gonna kind of refer that for people. But yeah, there's a lot like with Bitcoin. You can't do decentralized finance, DeFi. You can't purchase NFTs, which stands for non-fungible tokens for listeners that don't know. So Ethereum was one of the first ones with CryptoKitties, just being able to buy virtual cats on the blockchain. And it sounds funny now, but when I first heard about it, I'm a millennial and I remember playing Neopets. So it clicked to me right away. Neopets is a way to buy virtual pets online, and it was just for fun. There was no monetary value to it.
So you were kind of watching the crypto kitties with interest, but you didn't buy one at that time. You referenced NFTs as non-fungible tokens. I've heard you joke that maybe NFT stands for need funds, thank you.
Yes.
Like, what has your path been after watching the crypto kitties to actually, using your money to buy an NFT? What does that look like?
So the change with like what it looks like looking at CryptoKitties, not really purchasing it when it first came out, and then to purchasing NFTs now, I kind of went all in with the Ethereum with the ETH that I dollar cost averaged from like 2017 to 2021, because the first time it clicked to me that, oh, there's a lot more people paying attention now is when the team with CryptoKitties, Dapper Labs, had a project with the NBA. So for me, it was like, okay, cryptocurrency in itself is fringe and it's its own thing. And when I saw that they had a partnership with the NBA, I was like, okay, that's a legit big name company. So I was paying attention to what they were building. I kind of came back into the scene, more so than just dollar cost averaging, but like, okay, what's been going on? What's been building? And then that's when I found DeFi and NFTs. And because NFTs resonated with me more and I didn't make that jump initially with CryptoKitties, then I was like, okay, like I'll jump into it with NBA Top Shot, which was that partnership that Dapper Labs, creators of CryptoKitties, had with the NBA. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe the NBA Top Shots, maybe that's a really good place to start because it's talking about something that I think the people tend to have a better understanding or maybe better feel for, because if you grew up collecting sports trading cards or sports memorabilia, you can understand that. Even NFTs with artwork, I think that many of us are not art collectors. So even that kind of feels fringe, like we don't have a good feel for it. But NBA Top Shots, maybe people get it because, okay, it's like a digital trading card.
Yeah. So like for those that's unaware and like just first get into seeing NBA Top Shots, like you said, it's a digital trading card. People will quickly say like, oh, you could just watch that on YouTube. But yes, you totally can. But at the same time, owning that digital moment, I can't sell my YouTube clip that I took at the game to someone and be like, hey, here, I recorded this courtside watching LeBron James. Um, it's not the same as, because first you're not officially partnered with the NBA, and with NBA Top Shot they are, and it's a whole ecosystem of NBA Top Shot investing into the technology that Dapper Labs created.
So when it's on the blockchain, that brings authenticity and scarcity? Like, how do we view this?
Yes. So when it's on the blockchain, it's verifiable because overall the blockchain is a public ledger. So my wallet, anybody can see it if they know the address. They could see this is the thing that some people are kind of turned off, is like they don't they're already um, kind of like not wanting to talk about money and everything. So when you know, like, oh, the blockchain is a public ledger, it throws people off. Um, but the value with NBA Top Shot is it's verifiable that that moment is yours. It's an officially licensed product, and you could resell it. And if you think about, like, say jerseys, say it's a signed Michael Jordan jersey, I can't authenticate that, or you can, but how much proof is that? Like, it could be a fake. Whereas if it's on the blockchain, it's verified that it's yours. There's a limited quantity that's dropped. Like, there could be like 10,000 certain NBA moments of Kobe. Whereas if it was a jersey, a physical jersey of, say, Michael Jordan, it could have just been a carbon copy and not the real one that came from Mitchell and Ness or whatever um, company that made that jersey.
So do you view it like collecting like the old trading cards? It's something that, one, it should be something that you find joy in and you have fun with, but two, there is a hope that it could appreciate in value.
So I do see it like trading, trading Pokemon cards. So just growing up in that era, um, that's the best thing that I could relate it to, where it does give me joy in itself of like, oh, like it really reminds me of like having those Pokemon cards growing up, and then seeing other friends and their Pokemon cards. And for the value part, I see it more now as opposed to like when I was that little kid of just having fun. Now I understand more of like, okay, well, there's the collectible aspect, and there's the limited quantity of items, and now it's verified on the blockchain. So I see the value in it in that way, of other collectors really wanting to either have that collectible, say it's art, or even collectible NFTs with NBA Top Shot, for as an example.
Do you do any analysis? Like, how do you choose what you bought? Like, how
Okay.
did you determine?
Okay, so with NBA Top Shot, I determined it based off of like how traditional sports card collecting would be, whereas it's based on the player. I like to think of, is it their first debut moment, or is, and like how many of these cards are there out there, and what's the lowest price that people ask for, because that's kind of the lowest price or floor price is, say there's 10,000 car moments, and that's the lowest that people price it in to sell. So I'll use that as the value of like, okay, I have a LeBron James moment. It's selling for, say, $100. Okay, that's $100 that I could count if it's the same exact moment. It's funny because we're like, oh, it's not fungible. One thing's not the same, but then within it is the same thing of different moments, different plays.
Where do you track the pricing? Is there a place where you can go to track pricing on a daily basis?
Yes. So for NBA Top Shot, there is. website called evaluate.market, and these guys this team built out a whole like way for you to track your own portfolio within NBA Top Shot. And then when it comes to NFTs, there is a website called WGMI.io. It stands for we're gonna make it. So it's just a website that you're able to connect your MetaMask wallet, and it looks at all your NFTs, and it gives you the price based off of the floor price taken from OpenSea. OpenSea is the largest secondary platform for buying and selling NFTs.
How often do you check pricing? Because last year was a pretty crazy year for NFTs, right? For
Yes, yeah.
appreciation.
Because I'm an active trader of NFTs, that I check it once a week, just to not necessarily to be like, oh my gosh, is my portfolio down, but it's more to see like, okay, I want to sell this this one NFT. Like, let me see what the price is right now. Okay, like I guess I'll list it for sale and all that.
How often do you buy and sell?
I want to say I buy and sell weekly. Um, an example would be one where I bought an NFT 2 months ago that I purchased for an average price of 0.1 ETH. I'd have to do the conversion for ETH to USD, but I held it for I bought it for 0.1 ETH, and then I recently sold one for 3.5 ETH. So,
Wow. So this is just like fun trading for you. You're
yeah.
it's like a fun trading vehicle. You're trying
Yes,
to make a profit. Do you care if it's an NFT or not an NFT?
I do.
Like it could be a stock. It could be a stock. It could be an NFT. It could be a commodity.
Yeah, that's true. Do I care if it's an NFT as far as trading goes? Yes, I do, because like I'm only using the Ethereum that I had from before, the ETH I had from before, and my other investment vehicles is just on autopilot with my, as you mentioned, I'm in the military, so my TSP is automatically taken out on my paycheck, and then I automated to purchase VTSAX. And then for stocks, it's like, okay, well, that's fun and everything, but like I know what stocks I like, and I'll just DCA on that as well. For this one, it's funny because I feel like it's like active Legos that I'm moving with buying and trading um, NFTs.
This is a fun, active part of your investment portfolio.
Yes.
And I don't know, if suddenly the market went down significantly, are you holding things that you just kind of enjoy and you'd like to have in your portfolio?
Yes. So I definitely have those items in my portfolio that if it's gone to zero and I'm just like, okay, I'm fine. Like I actually like having that, and I picture it as 5, 10 years from now when like the whole like quote unquote metaverse, people are like interacting online a lot more and seeing like digital worlds, um, that they would see like, oh, like what kind of collector was Mike, and they could see like just the different artists that I've collected, and it's very crypto native. So it's like, okay, like he was a very serious, like he knew the people to collect. Um, so it's a lot. There's like artists that I'm still blown away by, that I own their artwork, and they've been featured in Christie's, a high end art auction house. That I'm all like, wow, like I never expected that, and it's like one of the things I've collected that brings me joy.
Mm. It's interesting that you almost think about legacy in somebody looking at your, like looking at the blockchain and saying, "Oh, what kind of person was Mike? What did he own? Who was
Yeah.
this guy?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So you from CryptoKitty to NBA Top Shots, what is the next NFT that you buy?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, it just depends on like the market if I'm buying for buying and selling or one that I want to like have in my collection. There's like different artists that I want to purchase just because their art resonates with me, and it's also a plus that they were featured in Christie's recently, and I don't have one of their pieces. His name is Drift. He was in the army, got out, and now he does a lot of photography. Very risky photography with like on top of buildings, kind of just seeing his vans. I'll have to send you a link. And there was another one. Her name is People Pleaser, and just one of the big artists that kind of like started in the space last year, but has done a cover for Fortune, was in a Time feature. So when it comes to certain artists, I'm all like, okay, what's their background, what's their previous work, and also like how much of their work is out there, So
What are some of the resources that people should use? And I'm kind of thinking like to somebody who is listening or watching who they read about NFTs, but they've never bought one. Like, where do you start? Like, where do you start looking? Where do you start doing your research and kind of trying to figure out where do I dip my toe in first?
well, I would definitely check out what Cult of Money has going on because there's a lot of articles we've written where it's a great guide for people that's crypto curious. And then with NFTs specifically, I'm gonna give the warning of it's very risky when it comes to NFTs, and like just because someone's like promoting it, I would do my research into like what that team is doing. So Twitter is one of the best resources, and it is a lot, but by following certain accounts, like I've seen you tweet a lot of people that's in the cryptocurrency blockchain space. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like, there we go. Like, that's credible sources being retweeted. That one, Cult of Money. So yeah, Twitter and Cult of Money would be great starting resources. There's also the Defiant as a Substack to read that I would suggest. Laura Shin's Unchained podcast is a great resource just to know a bit more in Web3 and cryptocurrency, as she's been someone that's covering the space and was a previous Forbes writer, I believe.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Journalist.
Yeah. So it's journalists, whereas me, I'm just a guy on the internet doing videos and just familiar with the space, and also a personal finance guy.
Well, I like that you're a personal finance guy and you're actually deploying your money. You're not just watching from the sideline. You're doing the research and learning by doing. So talk a little bit about the teams, because I know like CryptoPunks, Bored Ape Yacht Club, like there are big names that are in demand. So it's like, do people look for certain projects or do they just look for art that they like?
So it depends on their risk portfolio. With CryptoPunks and Bored Apes, those are very established NFTs, and they're high in demand. CryptoPunks being one of the first ones on the Ethereum blockchain, and Bored Ape Yacht Club just based off of like what they're building and what the community is building. So for someone new, how I look at things is through three different mediums. With first is like the art, because if I'm going to own something and it goes to zero, I like want to make sure it's something I like. I know that it's risky, and that's kind of like why I'm able to deploy my capital. And I'm like, okay, I'll go to zero, but I like it. And then there's the community aspect of it, of other holders that's in that community, or like what other people that own CryptoPunks or Bored Ape Yacht Club, what are they looking into? So it gives that confidence in me that, okay, they see something in the team, which is the next one that I was going to talk about, is the team of, is it an anonymous team, pseudonymous or anonymous team, or are they docs where the actual person behind there? Just because they're pseudonymous or anonymous doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I would definitely be more careful and really look into what they have to offer. Right now with NFTs, it's a lot of very copy paste approach with, oh, this is the utility. Like, we'll have in real life events or merchandise, or they could even launch a token within their ecosystem. So you have to like really see what separates that team based off of, like, a good team, in my opinion, will have a Medium post to kind of write to their community of what the benefits are for their holders and what they plan to build. So an example would be these 10,000 NFT PFP profile picture projects that launch. They'll launch 10,000 of them, and it could be priced at 0.08 ETH. Once they sell out, they could take in as much as about $2 million. So now what's the plan for that $2 million? Will they create a treasury for the community? As in, like, you and me as holders say, we're like, oh, I want to start up a podcast for this NFT so that it updates everybody else. Well, as you're starting that, and because the community has a treasury, they're like, hey, we want to help you out. Like, we're going to deploy this much funds and help you out with producing that podcast, as an example, or even using community funds to create merchandise for people. So it's just different things that I like to look for. Those are the main ones: the art, community, and the team.
It sounds like you need to do a lot of research, and it can vary from one to another. How do you have the time when you've got a full-time job, plus you've got a YouTube channel, and you're doing the video work? How do you find time for the research and the trading?
Well, I want to first thank the Navy for all the training that they've provided me to know how to balance everything out. And it was just creating a system. Once I created a system of, on this day, this is when I'll do my videos. On this day, this is when I'll do my research, kind of blocking that out. And then within those days of knowing, like, okay, these are the projects coming up. Let me get all the links. What are the questions I like to ask? Does it hit those markers? Okay, I'll go check that project out. So say after that, I purchased one of those NFT projects, NFT PFPs, I'll like move that over to a different thing that I'm tracking of, like, when's the last update from them? What the floor price is, and just kind of keeping track of different announcements to see, like, okay, like, they have another drop coming. Oh, this one's free for me as a holder. So I need to make sure to mint that, but basically mint it on the blockchain. Yeah, so it's just kind of creating those systems and schedule of, like, I know at this time I'm going to be working for the Navy. And after that, it's like I stay up, and I really love, like, NFTs and just where we're going with Web3, that I like to do. I stay up. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's impressive. I didn't know that we were going to get into time management, but clearly you have a strength there.
I did not realize that until you asked, and I was like, oh, okay, like, how do I keep it up? So.
Let's talk a little bit about Web 3.0, because this whole investing can be, right? It can be coins, it can be NFTs. You alluded to, like, it can be buying land in the metaverse. Like, where are we going?
Yeah. Okay, so buying quote unquote land in the metaverse, not Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook Meta, but Web3 metaverse. It is. So I don't have kids. I have nephews and nieces, and when I see them, they're playing Roblox. So they're already familiar with that world of like interacting with people, building worlds, and kind of like quote unquote living in that world. That my projection is that metaverse will be in different blockchains that's actually ownable. Because say Facebook or even Amazon created their own like video game and world, you're still not the one owning those assets. A funny fact that I like to think about is like Amazon has a game called New World, and I've talked to people here at Navy work that like, oh, like I like spend countless hours in New World like playing this game from Amazon, and I'm all like, oh, that's cool, like you're playing it, you're mining, you're earning whatever digital currency that's there, but it's not one that you're keeping. And I was like, okay, so it's already there, people are already interacting and they recognize that in that sense. And then when you look at Facebook's most recent pivot into the metaverse, rebranding as Meta, that's kind of like where I see it. Like we're slowly getting there, but there's going to be that point as we're slowly getting there that it'll just go from what should have been like 10 years down to 3 years. And I think my own opinion for that is in 2021, when COVID hit, it forced us all to just be in the house, take things through Zoom, meetings that we're already accustomed to connecting with people online, and the metaverse and owning land is just that next frontier for that. And with
Have you made any investments in digital real estate?
Yes, I did. So I purchased the Sandbox land, and to give the numbers, like I mentioned, I don't remember what the current price of Ethereum is, but I purchased at 0.3 ETH, and I sold that one at 4 ETH. So yeah, I have made my investments.
Made a nice profit.
Yeah, it was a nice profit, and it's definitely one that I liked. And yeah, just the whole metaverse and the land. I kind of stepped back just because I wanted to observe it more, because there's going to be a lot of games. If you think about video games now, like PlayStation, Xbox, like there's a lot of game releases yearly, but I stepped back to pay attention to where people will be going to. Like for me as an active investor in NFTs, like I know where others are, but I want to know where the new people this is brand new to them. What are the locations that they want to go see? As mentioned, the metaverse lands, there's the Sandbox, there's Decentraland. And if you've ever played a video game, it's kind of like that, but actually owning that asset.
Yeah, I don't play too many video games, so that's hard for me to wrap my head around. But my kids are playing Roblox all the time, so I can see it's really interesting because it's more than just a video game. It's like a social thing because they're playing with their siblings and their friends. And you're right about when you're in a pandemic time, it was just accelerated because kids were at home and they couldn't go play with their friends in the backyard. It was limited, so they would just jump onto Roblox. They'd jump on the computer.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Andy, what was one of the first video games you've played when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, oh my gosh, I'm old, so I played Pong,
That was the first
and I
game.
played
Okay.
and I played Space Invaders, and I love Donkey Kong.
Yeah, see, so that was that world that you were in of like escape, like kind
Yeah,
of
Pac-Man.
playing like Donkey Kong and kind of just, like being in that world. And for me, it was like, God, Pokemon, that, as you mentioned now with your kids, it's like Roblox. So it's just kind of projecting that next
Well,
frontier.
Pokemon was interesting because suddenly it was blending the game with reality. Like your actual surroundings were
Yeah,
connected to the app. So there was like an overlap. It wasn't just binary. You're playing a game or you're in the real world. You're playing the game in the world.
yeah, yeah, that's true. The newest Pokemon, like the VR one, like, yeah, so even that, there's NFTs that's VR. There's actually land, not necessarily you're owning that land, but if you're in that location, you like have you could see things if you own it and you put assets there in augmented reality.
So I'm
Yeah.
surprised that you don't have like the ETH quote off the top of your head all the time.
Ooh, what's the ETH quote?
No, like the Ethereum value. Like you're thinking in terms of like zero point 0.3 ETH,
Yeah,
not always US dollars.
that's true. I think
Maybe that's
it.
how far you are into it. That
Yeah,
you're just thinking in terms of Ethereum. You don't need the US dollar exchange. You just need to know if you're making a profit or not.
that's true. So I that's true. Talking to you about it, I do think of in ETH, but as an active trader, I did set up my own Google sheet, make sure I'm like portioning out what I need to for taxes and what my profit is. Just because I know like, oh, that was a lot of ETH. That, and ETH, I think ETH is 2,700 right now, maybe 26. So
I mean, both like Bitcoin and Ethereum have been super volatile. Even in 2021, when I think there was no bear market really. It was just kind of volatility. How does that impact when Ethereum gets cut in half, for example? How does that impact the NFT market, or does it?
it does. It's a very weird correlation where if ETH prices of ETH are down, NFTs are usually up because people are seeing like, oh wow, like I could purchase ETH at a lower price, and that means I could afford this NFT. So it almost creates a bull run for NFTs. And then when ETH is up, people are more careful with spending their ETH to purchase NFTs.
As a trader, when ETH is going down, are there people who are trying to sell their NFT just because they want to get out?
Yes, there is those cases of people wanting to liquidate when ETH is down, so they'll list stuff up for sale, and that I think that's essentially why it creates that bull run of like people getting out and people purchasing ETH at a discount and then rotating that back into NFTs.
So for the portion of NFTs that you're trading and not wanting to hold long term, do you think about like the price of like where the direction is going or not really?
Not really, but I do check it. I do check it, but not as often of like once a week. It's just kind of like looking at it and like kind of just seeing like what it was last sold for, and it kind of gives me like, okay, like because I saw that piece and I knew that artist, it gives me that kind of confidence in my like my eye for things. um just as an example, is the artist's name is Ferocious, and it was just a piece that I found of theirs that was undervalued compared to other pieces they have, that when I purchased it, it was like zero point 0.8 ETH, 0.8 ETH. And the last time it was sold, it sold for 2.35 ETH. And obviously, I'm still holding that. I don't plan to sell it um, anytime soon. But just knowing that, okay, like it went up, I recognize that artist. Cool. Like there's something there. And I've been better with writing down why I decided to purchase different NFTs. And I'll look at the numbers because, as I mentioned, like NFTs is on the blockchain, which is a public ledger. So there's different tools out there where you could see on-chain analytics, like how much people are buying it, who are buying it, who the biggest holders are, what the price is. So it's a mixture of that as well when I'm
Where do you see that?
So it's Nansen, NANSEN dot AI. I'm gonna say dot AI. So yeah, Nansen.ai. Yeah, I pay for the service just to kind of see the on-chain analytics more in depth, but
Then you
it's
can
been
see
one.
the distribution too, so you can make sure that it's not held by
Yeah.
like a very small group or something like that.
Yes, and even if you don't have that, there you could see it on. It's called Etherscan, and you're essentially just following the trail. With Nansen, it just breaks it down, and it's not just NFTs; it could be different tokens that's on there, which is funny because I had a theory of like, okay, well, if I'm seeing all these on-chain analytics and Coinbase isn't listing certain coins yet, you could kind of almost see, well, you can if you're really good at like pinpointing stuff, is you could see when Coinbase purchases a bunch of tokens and then they're going to put it in their marketplace, which creates a local top. So by like really paying attention to that detail, you're like, oh, I could capture that before as soon as it goes on Coinbase and then sell it there and then essentially just kind of move your funds elsewhere and then go from there. So yeah,
Interesting.
sorry, it's a lot.
No, that's super interesting. Uh, with your NFTs, do you have like target prices where you want to buy and where you want to sell?
Yes, I do. So because it's risky, I like to purchase anything that's under 0.5 ETH if it's brand new. And obviously the lower the better. Like if it's 0.08 ETH, that's amazing. I will definitely purchase a bunch of those at that price. And for selling, by minute, like I'll list it at like 5x the price. And I'll just leave it at that. And if one sells, like, okay, then I'll just have different tiers. So if I bought 3 of this NFT PFP collection, I'll list one for like 10x, 5x, and then hold the other one. And obviously, it's very speculative. Not everyone will 5x, and I'm fine with that. So I'll adjust accordingly. And if I need to get out of a position, I'll like kind of just take that loss and liquidate, but then I'll have capital to deploy next.
Yeah, that's interesting because if you compare that to owning actual real estate, it's like if you had 3 condos and you sold one, like you had an asking price and you don't know if someone's going to actually hit that bid, but if it sells at that price, you hope that suddenly the pricing is higher and you held one back. So you could sell that if you wanted to, or you hold it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are my main price points, and it's not really like that rush to sell stuff. And my original plan, actually, funny story, is my original plan with my Bored Ape Yacht Club when I first held it. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna hold it for a year. Like, I'm a personal finance guy. Like, I know, like, if I sell it before then, I'll have to take the hit on taxes. And I had 2, and then it obviously went up 100x. And people are like, well, you should take your profit. And I'm like, I know I don't need it. This is a whole different aspect for me that's separate from my main account. But I was like, you guys, it's right. Like, take the profit. So I did take the profit. I'm never not against taking profit. But if I would have still held, obviously, that one Bored Ape Yacht Club at the price now, like I would have had two as opposed to the one that I just have. So yeah, that's kind of like, okay, I have to make sure I balance out my traditional personal finance mind with my investor NFT JPEG, like joking around, having fun investor side.
It's
So
pretty good when you're joking around and making 100x your investment.
yeah. And I don't want to ever like think like, oh, for newcomers that like it's all profit. Like there's a lot more going on there.
Anything that you want to share in regard to taxes and what people should know?
So with taxes and what people should know, I want to, if possible, just refer them to this awesome article we have on Cult of Money, where Robert kind of tackles those issues with taxes and just creates a great resource. For me, I personally just, if I purchase, like I mentioned, I create a whole Google sheet to track my buying and selling of NFTs, that as soon as I sell, I portion out 30% in a separate wallet, MetaMask wallet within that fund, that wallet is just for taxes. So I don't want to keep it there in my active trading wallet. It's like, nope, I know I don't want to spend that. I'm smart enough to know to portion my profits in those separate buckets.
So that's your tax withholding.
Yes. Yeah.
You're earmarking your so that you don't have less at the end of the year when you have to pay your taxes, and suddenly you're like, oh, I accidentally used that for trading.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
so
not liquid.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I want to buy some more NFTs. Where could I pull that from? Nope, not that one. Not from my taxes wallet. Yeah, just my split off with like buying and selling NFTs. Everybody's is going to be different. Mine is that where it's in 3 different buckets. One for taxes, the other one 30% taxes, 20% into my profit, and then the other 50% is back into active trading of JPEGs.
Since yours have grown, and you said at the start of our conversation, like 1% for NFTs, since it's grown, do you have to scale back? Like, how do you view still that like percentage or that proportion?
Oh, for me,
Yeah.
well, I don't even really count that one because as my like I count it as my own separate one, but not in my like.
Or is it that you started with 1% and then it's just kind of play?
Oh no. So I started. I started with just dollar cost averaging, and then what I had from 2017 to 2021 is what I've been like kind of using. And then now for my percentage, like after all builder expenses are paid for, all the retirement accounts are funded, I put majority of it in ETH. So yeah,
So you're
I
making a
definitely
bet.
yeah. I actually had a video before in 2020 of like why I'm putting a part of my military pay in Ethereum. And at that time, prices of Ethereum were like $400. And it was like, okay, I've been dollar cost averaging. Like, why not put a bigger portion and make sure that my main accounts are funded? Like I have what I need. So this is all extra. And why not do that? Why not try that risk out? Because I'm able to take that risk on.
Yep. No, it's an interesting approach because you've got your kind of traditional retirement investments But then you have this that one, you enjoy it, it's kind of fun, but that's like the extra juice. It's like, what kind of extra juice can you get between now
Yeah.
and retirement? Where will that take you?
Mhm.
I like to ask all the Inspired Money guests, how do you define success?
Oh, I define success by being able to not really have that like external pressure of work, of needing to answer to someone or make X amount, and just being able to enjoy life and time with family, friends, loved ones, and just having your time for you. I like to think of that story with the Mexican fisherman, if you're not familiar. Um, just a quick story is there was an American businessman that was taking a vacation in Mexico, and he saw the fisherman. The fisherman comes from the boat, like sees him, starts talking to him about like, oh wow, like you caught a lot of fish. You know, if you scale it up, you could do all this. But the guy was like, the Mexican fisherman was like, I already do that. Like, I don't need to like scale all that to be able to afford that lifestyle you were talking about. I already have that with what I already am doing.
Yep.
So yeah,
He's like, I'm already in paradise and
yeah,
have enough fish to eat.
yeah,
Why do I need 5 more boats?
yeah. That's like that to me is success. Like, I don't need more boats. I'm content with the boats I have now, or my JPEGs.
Thanks for sharing your, sort of crypto NFT journey with us. And I recommend that people check out your YouTube channel where you have a lot of information, a lot of videos that can educate us. Plus, with your editing work, you can have like really cool special effects and stuff,
True, true, true.
which is also fun. So tell the Inspired Money viewers and listeners where they can follow you to find out more.
So they can find me to find out more on Twitter at Mike Damazo. You could also follow Cult of Money on Twitter, and the website is cultofmoney.com. And just my YouTube channel, if you search MD NFT, you'll find my content there.
For Mike Damazo. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much, Andy. Have a great one.
So what was your favorite Inspired Money moment? I don't know about you, but my head is spinning a little bit. I was never into trading cards or collectibles, so I'm still trying to wrap my head around digital collectibles. I appreciate Mike's enthusiasm and his willingness to learn. I was fascinated by his approach of buying 3 NFTs, listing 2 to sell at 10 times and 5 times his cost while holding 1 back. It's cool if he can make money and have fun with it. Remember, I'm not recommending to buy NFTs, crypto, or all the things discussed today, but I'm also not saying to bury your head in the sand either. Learn everything that you can, manage your risk, and do what's right for you. Thanks for watching to the end. If you had a different favorite Inspired Money moment, post a comment here or go to the Inspired Money Makers Facebook group at inspiredmoney.fm/Facebook. Before you go, I want to invite you to subscribe to my email that goes out every 2 weeks. The Runnymede investment team, that includes yours truly, highlights data, news, and events that we think are worth sharing. Subscribe at inspiredmoney.fm/newsletter. It's free and informative. Thanks for joining me on this mission. Have an inspired week and do something that scares you, because that's where the magic happens.